Good afternoon and welcome to Midday News on Rajya Sabha television, where we get you the top developing news stories from India and around the world at the lunch hour. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and these are the headlines. Rajya Sabha Chairman N. Venkaiah Naidu refers a privilege notice against Congress President Rahul Gandhi to Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Naidu takes a view that there is a prima facie question of privilege. BJP member Bhupinder Yadav raised the issue of privilege and contempt of Rajya Sabha against Rahul Gandhi. 4 policemen martyred in IED blast in Jammu and Kashmir's Baramulla. Explosion at a police patrolling market area of Sopore. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti expresses condolences. Security situation in Jammu and Kashmir among key issues being discussed at Police Officers Conference in Madhya Pradesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the 3-day conference. Home Minister and National Security Advisor also present. Cyber terrorism, counter-radicalization and left-wing extremism also to be discussed. Union budget to be presented in Parliament on 1st of February. Budget session to be held from 29th of January till 6th of April, with a one-month break for standing committees to scrutinize budget proposals. And Russia criticizes the United States for convening the UN Security Council meet over protests in Iran. Says US wrong in involving the UN in a country's internal affair. Iran says US abusing its power as a permanent member of the council. Our top story this afternoon, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu today referred the issue of privilege raised by BJP MP Bhupinder Yadav against Congress President Rahul Gandhi to the Lok Sabha Speaker for further consideration. On examining the privilege notice submitted by Yadav, the Rajya Sabha Chairman concluded that there is prima facie a question of privilege. Now, Yadav, who had moved the notice on 28th of last month, had raised the matter in Rajya Sabha on Friday, and BJP member Bhupinder Yadav had raised the privileged issue under Rule 187 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Council of States. In his notice, Yadav stated that the tweet of Congress President Rahul Gandhi on the 28th of last month was highly derogatory and a deliberate misinterpretation of the proceedings of the Rajya Sabha. Rahul Gandhi's tweet purportedly referred to the statement of leader of Rajya Sabha and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley made in the House the previous day to resolve the stalemate on the issue of alleged comments of Prime Minister Narendra Modi against former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. After prolonged discussions at the behest of the Rajya Sabha Chairman, Jaitley and the leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad made statements in the House reiterating their commitment to respect and uphold the dignity of the office of Prime Minister and former Prime Minister. Jaitley stated that Prime Minister Modi did not mean to question the commitment of Dr. Manmohan Singh and former Vice President Hamid Ansari. Yadav further said that Rahul Gandhi's tweet amounted to an affront to the dignity of Rajya Sabha as well. Now, as per the laid down procedure, if an issue of privilege is made against a member of the House, such notice is required to be referred to the House in which he is a member. Accordingly, since Rahul Gandhi is a member of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha Chairman referred the privilege notice against Rahul Gandhi to the Lok Sabha Speaker.
सर, मैंने एक नोटिस दिया था प्रिविलेज का 187 में सर, और मैं यहाँ ये कहना भी चाहता हूँ कि जो विषय सदन में रखा गया था, हमारे बहुत संजीदा नेता प्रतिपक्ष और हमारे सदन के नेता दोनों के माध्यम से सहमति के आधार पर इस सदन में बयान दिए गए थे। ये बयान सदन के आपस की सहमति के आधार पर और पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री जी और सदन के पूर्व चेयरमैन की जो गरिमा है उसके आधार पर दिए गए थे। इस प्रकार के दिए गए बयान को सदन के बाहर झूठा कहना और इस प्रकार के बयान पे सदन के ऊपर प्रश्न उठाना,
आपको क्या
ये नेता मेरा पॉइंट ऑफ ऑर्डर ये है कि पूर्व में सर पूर्व में सदन के इस प्रकार के 3 इंसिडेंट रहे हैं। 1954 में श्री NC चटर्जी का, श्री प्रणब मुखर्जी जी का और श्री रामेश्वर ठाकुर का जब दूसरे सदन के सदस्य थे तो वो रेफर किया गया था। मेरा प्रिविलेज को सर आज सदन का ये समाप्त होने वाला है। मेरा जो प्रिविलेज है सर उसके बारे में आप
I have received, I have praise, बैठ जाइए ना।
10 दिन से चल रहा है सर, मेरे प्रिविलेज का आप निर्णय करिए सर।
प्लीज बैठ जाइए, बैठ जाइए।
मैं
no, no,
राइट, ये मेरा राइट है।
He has only mentioned his motion.
आया है।
He has mentioned his motion only. Please, आप बैठ जाइए, please. बैठ जाइए, please.
पॉइंट ऑफ ऑर्डर
He has Mr.
Yes, मैं 3 बार उठा चुका हूँ सर।
Mr. Yadav,
Yes,
Mr. Yadav, please. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है ना। He has given a privilege notice. He has got every right to ask me what has happened to that. But I am not going into the merits. I am not going into the merits, Mr. Yadav. Please, Yadav ji, बैठिए. Your notice is under my consideration. I already told you. I will be taking action immediately, but it's not within the Rajya Sabha, and finally it has to go to Lok Sabha. I will take necessary decision at the earliest.
And dates for the budget session of Parliament have been announced, and the first phase of the budget session will start from 29th of January to 9th of February. The Union budget will also be presented in this phase on 1st of February. Parliament will convene after the recess from 5th of March to 6th of April. President Ramnath Kovind will address the joint sitting of the two houses on 29th of January, and the economic survey will be tabled on the same day.
फर्स्ट पार्ट बजट सेशन का फर्स्ट पार्ट 29 जनवरी से शुरू होगा और 9 फरवरी तक चलेगा और रिसेस होगी 10 फरवरी से 4 मार्च तक। 5 मार्च से फिर से हमारा सेकेंड पार्ट शुरू होगा बजट सत्र का, वो 6 अप्रैल तक चलेगा। कुल मिलाकर के 31 दिन का सत्र होगा।
On to the other top story of the day. 4 policemen have been killed and 2 others have been seriously injured in an IED blast by terrorists in Sopore in Baramulla. The IED blast took place this morning in the main market area of Sopore. The place where the explosion took place is a regular spot for patrolling by Jammu and Kashmir police. The IED was reportedly planted beneath a shop. No terror group has claimed responsibility so far for the attack. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti expressed condolences over the deaths of the policemen. In a Twitter message, she said, "Pained to hear that 4 policemen have been killed in an IED explosion in Sopore. My deepest condolences to their families." During the winter session of Parliament, the government had stated that there were 341 terror incidents in the state of Jammu and Kashmir between 1st of November 2016 and 31st of October 2017. There were 311 incidents in the same period the previous year.
Pakistan does not want that there should be panchayat elections in India and normalcy should return in Kashmir Valley. So therefore, we have to now keep a very strict vigil on the entire proceedings and all the areas, and everyone has to be very, very vigilant.
Meanwhile, a security situation in major combat regions of Jammu and Kashmir will be one of the issues being discussed in a police conference in Madhya Pradesh today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is attending the conference of top police officers from all states and central police organization in Tekanpur, to be attended by over 250 DGP and IGP level police officials from across the country. The 3-day conference will also discuss issues like cyber terrorism, impact of social media and radicalization of youth. Left-wing extremism and northeast security situation will also be discussed. Now, Home Minister Rajnath Singh and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval are also taking part in the conference to be held at the BSF Academy in Tekanpur. The Prime Minister is expected to speak on new age crimes like cyber terrorism and radicalization of youth, while Home Minister Rajnath Singh is likely to give an assessment of the internal security situation. NSA Ajit Doval will talk about cross-border terrorism. The conference of the DGPs and IGPs is an annual affair organized by the Modi government since it came to power in 2014. On to some other news, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj made a strong pitch before Indian Indonesians to come and see a resurgent India. She was addressing the Indian community in Jakarta. She is in the Indonesian capital in connection with the Joint Commission meeting between the two countries. On Saturday, she also met the Secretary General of ASEAN, Dato' Badura Lim, as well as heads of ASEAN member states. They are scheduled to visit India to take part in the Indo-ASEAN Commemorative Summit and as the chief guest of India's Republic Day later this month. Now, Jakarta is the headquarters of ASEAN, and in the run of the commemorative summit, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj also inaugurated ASEAN-India network of think tank. Earlier, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, in her meeting with her Indonesian counterpart, discussed ways of increasing cooperation and creating strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific region. She will meet the Indonesian president before she flies to Singapore for her next visit.
Today there is not a patch of foreign land which is not inhabited by Indians and grows with traces and influence of our multi-layered culture. Cutting across continents and countries, from America to Africa, from Australia to Argentina, persons of Indian origin and NRIs are making their presence felt in countless ways, big or small. But the sun never sets and will never set on the extended community of overseas Indians who are shining and thriving in every part of the world.
All right, let's get a perspective on the story. Akhilesh Suman is now joining us live from the newsroom. Akhilesh, well, as the biggest country in the ASEAN region with the largest economy, Indonesia is an important partner for India, including in trade as well as strategic matters. So Sushma Swaraj's visit here is significant. Tell us more.
Yeah, naturally, see, Indonesia is not only the largest economy and largest country in ASEAN, but it is also the largest Muslim populated country in the whole world. And you know that India and Indonesia have a very fantastic relationship for ages together, and Indian traditions have been being followed. Ramayana tradition, Mahabharata tradition have been being followed in Indonesia for a long time. You will see Indian temples at many places in Indonesia. So given this fact, you know that India and Indonesia are also coming closer together. In the yesterday meeting with the Indonesian foreign minister, it was decided to go deeply into defense cooperation and also in maritime domain, cooperation in maritime domain. So the whole scheme of things with Indonesia, between Indonesia and India, is actually to create a strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific region, because you know the monopolistic tendencies are rising up in the whole Indo-Pacific region, specifically from the Chinese side, yes, where rule of law is not being obeyed. No international norms are being obeyed by Chinese, and almost all the ASEAN nations are scared and they want counterbalancing by by presence of India. And you know, recently there has been a meeting of India, Australia, Japan and US, yes, on this issue, and we are moving towards Quad, that is giving confidence to the ASEAN nations. So in this way, Sushma Swaraj has visited Indonesia, though it is part of her travel to 3 countries. One is Thailand, second is Indonesia, and now she has left for Singapore. She will, yes, be in Singapore after half an hour or so. So in a way that it is precursor also to Indo-ASEAN commemorative summit that is going to take part in India. This is the first commemorative summit after 25 years of relationship between India and ASEAN. Yes. And all head of states of ASEAN nations are coming here to take part not only in the summit, but also they will be the chief guest of India's Republic Day celebration. Right. And this is the first time that India is calling 10 head of state to be the chief guest of Republic Day. Earlier it was just, yes, one country head was invited to be the chief guest. So right, it is a new tradition India has started, and the ASEAN leaders are feeling very good about this type of tradition when all, right, of them will be in India to watch the celebration. And in this way, Sushma Swaraj is also igniting the Indian community who are living there in, yes, Indonesia to come and see the changing and resurgent, absolutely, India at this moment. All right,
Akhilesh. Thank you so much for all those updates and analysis on that story. On to some other news. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath called on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu this morning. It took place at the Vice President's house, and in the courtesy meeting, Yogi Adityanath gifted a memento with the logo of Kumbh Mela 2019, which will take place in Allahabad. In midday news, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Tactile diagrams have been around for more than 5 decades. That technology has not come to India because it's just too expensive, the visually impaired. So today we have a technology where we are making tactile diagrams for 15 rupees per page. And we are hoping that if once we do go into mass production, we can do it for 6 to 7 rupees. We need to have much more developed public-private partnership, because finally scaling will happen with entrepreneurship and innovation.
Watch Eureka with Dr. M. Balakrishnan, Deputy Director and Strategy and Planning, also Professor CSE Department at IIT Delhi, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now, the growth in GDP during 2017-18 has been estimated at 6.5% as compared to 7.1% in the 2016-17. This is less than the government's estimate of 7%. Now, announcing the estimates, Chief Statistician TCA Anand said that agriculture, forestry and fishing is likely to touch 2.1% in the current fiscal from 4.9% in the preceding year. He said that the growth in manufacturing sector is also expected to deaccelerate to 4.6% this fiscal, down from 7.9% in 2016-17. However, electricity, gas, water supply and other utility services sector is expected to grow by 7.5% as compared to the growth of 7.2% in 2016-17. The construction sector is also expected to grow by 3.6% as compared to growth of 1.7% in the last fiscal. Meanwhile, the growth rate in per capita income is estimated at 5.3% during 2017-18 as against 5.7% in the previous year.
फर्स्ट क्वार्टर में 5.7 आ गई थी, सेकंड क्वार्टर में 6.3 थी. अब आप उसी को यदि देखते हुए इससे आकलन लगाए कि हम अगले 2 क्वार्टर के लिए क्या अंदाज लगा रहे हैं, तो अगले 2 क्वार्टर के लिए मैं ग्रोथ का अंदाज 7% लगा रहा हूं. तो मतलब जो मैंने सेकंड क्वार्टर के टाइम पे बोला था कि ये इंक्रीज का ट्रेंड मेंटेन रहेगा, वो इसमें दर्शा रहा है.
And of nominations will be held today for the upcoming Rajya Sabha biennial polls and by-polls. The biennial election for Rajya Sabha will be held for 3 seats from Delhi and 1 from Sikkim. The seats are falling vacant on 27th of January as the term of MPs Karan Singh, Janardhan Dwivedi and Parvez Hashmi expires. The by-poll will be held to fill up the Rajya Sabha seat from Uttar Pradesh, which was vacated by Manohar Parrikar after assuming charge as Goa Chief Minister. Now, voting and the counting of votes will be held on 16th of January. On to some weather updates. And cold wave continues to grip several states in North India. At least 4 people have died due to intense cold wave in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Sultanpur and Fursadganj witnessed another cold spell with a minimum temperature of 2.8 degrees Celsius. The national capital also experienced temperatures dropping as low as 7.2 degrees Celsius. A blanket of fog enveloped the city, leading to cancellation of several trains and flights. The Met Department has predicted clear skies along with moderate fog today. Himachal Pradesh experienced fresh snowfall in high-altitude areas. Kelong recorded a minimum temperature of -8 degrees Celsius, while Manali experienced temperatures of -2.6 degrees. The Met Office has predicted rains or snow at some places in higher reaches today. In Jammu and Kashmir, Gulmarg and Pahalgam witnessed snowfall. Gulmarg recorded a low of -9 degrees Celsius, while Leh in Ladakh region recorded a minimum temperature of -10.3 degrees Celsius. Temperatures in Kargil dropped to -20.6 degrees Celsius, An avalanche hit a vehicle on the Kupwara-Tangdhar road. At least 7 people have been missing after the incident. A search and rescue operation has been launched. On to all the international news, and the White House has warned Islamabad that the US is keeping all its options on the table to deal with Pakistan if it does not take decisive action against the Taliban and the Haqqani network and dismantle their safe havens. The warning came after the US suspended about $2 billion in security aid to Pakistan for failing to clamp down on terror groups. The freezing of all security assistance to Pakistan comes after US President Donald Trump, in a New Year tweet, accused the country of giving nothing to the US but lies and deceit and providing safe haven to terrorists in return for the $33 billion aid over the last 15 years. The US wants action against the existing safe haven of the Taliban and the Haqqani network and demolish its ability to carry out strikes across the border in Afghanistan. The US says it has a number of tools in the toolkit and can take unilateral steps. Meanwhile, Russia has fiercely criticized the United States for convening the UN Security Council meet over protests in Iran. Russia's envoy to the United Nations said that involving the council in an internal affair damaged the top UN body. A number of other countries also criticized the US for convening the emergency meeting of the Security Council. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations said that US was abusing its power as a permanent member of the council. France also said that any interference in Iran's internal affairs would be counterproductive and that the protests, while worrying, did not threaten international peace and security. Minutes earlier, US Ambassador Nikki Haley had praised the protests as a powerful exhibition of a brave people of Iran. Remember, at least 21 people have been killed in the protest in the country. They broke out in one Iranian city in late December against the state of the economy, and they quickly spread to dozens of other cities with slogans chanted against the government. And North Korea has accepted South Korea's proposal for official talks in what will be the first high-level contact between the two countries in more than 2 years. The person-to-person talks will be held on Tuesday at Panmunjom, which is an area on the border. That agenda of the talks will be issues related to improving inter-Korean relationships, including the Olympic Games in South Korea. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said that this message, they'll be sending a delegation to the games, and the message would be a good opportunity to show unity of the people. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said that he sees the Winter Olympics as a groundbreaking chance to improve relations between the two Koreas. Now, these will be the first high-level talks both Koreas will have since December 2015. On to all the sporting action, and India will take on South Africa today on the second day of the first test match at Newlands Cricket Stadium in Cape Town. Rohit Sharma and Cheteshwar Pujara will resume India's batting attack today. India were 28 for 3 at the close of the opening day play of the first cricket test against South Africa. Cheteshwar Pujara with the 5 and Rohit Sharma without any score were on the crease when stumps were drawn for the day. Earlier, India dismissed South Africa for a modest first inning totals of 286 runs. For South Africa, Vernon Philander, Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel claimed 1 wicket each. For India, Bhuvneshwar Kumar was the main wicket taker with an analysis of 4 wickets for 87 runs in 19 overs. Ravichandran Ashwin claimed 2 wickets, while Mohammad Shami, Jasprit Bumrah and Hardik Pandya took 1 wicket apiece. The match is scheduled to start shortly. And that's all in this edition of Midday News. But news and updates continue on Rajya Sabha television. Thanks for your time.